Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Right, so one of the buffs that I did not see coming is a buff to Mordo. So let's jump into it and break down what I think about this buff and the things that have changed. So as many of us know, Mordo is actually already, fairly interesting character with the soul barb, and there aren't many champions with that going around, and obviously he can be extremely frustrating defender to go up against. Unfortunately, when it comes to his defensive capabilities, he has become slightly more annoying, but we'll get to it in a moment. Right, so his base mechanics effectively are exactly the same. He has not received major updates for most of his abilities. There are some new things though, but let's get to it. So Mordo is immune to passive ability accuracy reduction. I do like that a lot. That is extremely underrated ability, and I love that. Especially now with Battlegrounds, I think that can be even more beneficial because a lot of champions do rely on ability accuracy reduction in order to bypass some nodes. Like in this previous meta, for instance, Falcon could not do more than 1% damage to Mordo, to Old Man Logan, and to Mysterio because their ability accuracy cannot be reduced, and with that also the node ability accuracy cannot be reduced. And there are legitimate arguments of ranking up Mordo for defense, for instance, but we'll get to it. While the opponent has at least one buff, you gain 460 attack rating. So given that these are for 565 champion, 460 rating, it's empty here. Why is it empty? I won't see his stats. I hope they actually improve some of his stats. But, so basically he gets extra attack if opponents have at least one buff. I think that's quite neat. I do like that. I do think that that was one of his synergies, and that got moved into his base kit, and it's a nice little bonus there. Every 8 seconds, Mordo gains a power gain buff, granting 1 bar of power. That has remained unchanged, so he still has the same power gain buff. 20% attack. Yeah, that is what used to be a synergy of Symbiote Supreme. While stunned, same mechanics here that it used to be. Also, while blocking, Mordo can hold the block and for half a second, and then he can block unblockable special attacks. While charging heavy attack, continuously gain Furies, each granting 460.2 attack rating for 17 seconds, max 15 buffs. Additionally, giving him the longer the heavy attack is charged. Mordo is below 1 bar of power, he'll passively gain power as well. Now, here is the biggest change by far. It used to be 10 Fury buffs, so additional 5 on a 565 champion would basically give him additional 2000 attack rating. And the duration of these Furies have been increased to 17 seconds from 12, which is fairly substantial increase, and you will definitely notice it more and more. And that actually makes me quite curious, because previously I already enjoyed using Mordo here and there with kind of like a cheesy tactic of basically just charging heavy attack in the distance, getting to 1 bar of power, and then intercepting opponents with a special attack. Now, it's a fairly tricky thing to do, but he can actually output quite a lot of damage. So now, I'm actually quite curious how much damage he can output overall. So this is going to help us decent. Previously, basically, he would have gotten 4,600 attack increase, and now it would be going up more to like 7,000 attack increase plus his base attack. And if opponent has a buff, that would probably make him somewhere in the line of 10k attack rating for a 5-star. It's not too bad, and the longer duration definitely is going to make it more possible to actually, keep it going for longer. When it comes to the rest of his effects, not really much has changed up until Sig ability, so this is increased by 5 seconds, again, fairly significant. Special 1 is basically the same. Special 2 has been made slightly more effective, but it really doesn't change much. It reduces the regeneration rate by 80% instead of 70. I believe it was 70, yes. And with Despair, that makes it 95, so you basically shut down opponent's regeneration, but you do not have access to many other buffs, maybe aside from degeneration, so you don't completely seal off. Kind of hope that this would be like 95% or something like that. So with Despair, you would completely shut off healing, but you don't. Still, something. And that damage that you deal, 276, it looks very small, but already from experience, if you have some Furies, it does scale with those Furies, plus it scales with every buff, and it can be a really huge degen in some matchups. Mordo was always one of those cheese characters against buff-heavy champions similar to Longshot and Morningstar, except he didn't get rid of them, he didn't nullify them, he put on a massive damage over time, passive kind of damage over time ability on them, which was quite interesting. And Special 3 has been slightly improved as well by increasing the chance to proc regen based on his remaining health. And when it goes to Sig ability, if opponent strikes Mordo while they have True type buff, he has a 100% chance to nullify that buff and replace it with a Detonate buff lasting 20 seconds. Detonate deals a burst of 1610 energy damage when it's nullified or it expires. Now I do hope that this once again scales with his Furies and everything else, and then it could be something even more interesting. But as far as abilities go, it's basically there as a mechanic to be able to bypass champions with True Strike, True Accuracy, or whatever else not. And that obviously now makes him also more annoying on defense. For instance, if you use Corvus's Proximus Energy, or just Corvus, he would nullify that and he would put Detonate on you. Or if you try to use, well, virtually anybody else with a buff. Now, luckily, there are champions with True Accuracy passives, let's say like Molman and stuff like that, that will still work. But they did make him nastier defender. And I think that is going to be the largest impact of the champion. They did change several of his synergies. If I check here, they actually kind of nerfed some of his synergies, to be honest. Like with Goldpool, Mordo used to get increased Fury buff duration, but now they're replaced with Soul Barb duration, which is nowhere near as valuable as it used to be. But, you know, they excuse it by increasing the Fury duration in basic kit. And a similar thing with the Sorcerer Supreme. So they actually kind of nerfed his synergies really badly, because these 4 seconds, again, you could say that they moved it to his basic kit. But now, given that Mystic opponents suffer minus 15% buff potency, it's pretty much a useless synergy. Like, Mystic opponents typically don't really spam many buffs to begin with, you know. They took a useful synergy and made it into a useless synergy here. And this last one, new effect, again, involves Detonate buff. Mordo places a Detonate buff on the opponent at the start of the fight, which lasts 20 seconds, deals 50% of Mordo's base attack as a burst of energy when it's nullified or expires. But it's a way to guarantee that opponents have at least one buff active. But still, you know, it's just one of those things. Overall, as far as changes go, obviously it's not a minor buff. Do I personally think that this will make Mordo into top tier Mystic that everybody wants to rank up? No. Do I think that we're gonna see a whole bunch of content creator videos with, oh my god, Mordo collapse now? Yes. Realistically, obviously, he will do more damage, but majority of the stuff that he will be able to do slightly better will be exactly the same stuff that he used to do pretty much before. And I do, however, think that we might see more Mordos ranked up in nearby future, but that would largely be the effect of Battlegrounds more so than the effect of this buff, to be honest. Now, I don't want to be downer, and obviously we still need to see how much it plays, and maybe that 5-second Fury duration increase will genuinely make him a quite powerful offensive option. But again, when you think about it on offensive terms, exclusively, there aren't many times you would want to use this guy over other Mystic champions. Aside from the fact that he's probably the Mystic champion that likely gains the most buffs the quickest. So if, you know, gaining a ton of buffs is important, that could be helpful. However, obviously, as I mentioned several times already before, Battlegrounds, and Battlegrounds is something that I'm personally extremely interested in. I do think that we might see more ranked up Mordos, potentially for some Battlegrounds defense, because Mordo could, you know, squeeze out a specific counter, especially if you put in high MD on him. You know, you'd want a specific counter, and then if he drops level 3, he can trigger regeneration, and all sorts of bad things can happen there. So it kind of depends, obviously, on what kind of nodes we're going to be talking about, but it's going to be interesting to see what the difference is. As always, I will upload pre-buff damage with and without synergies, and post-buff damage with and without synergies, and then we're going to compare all that stuff. Hopefully the results are going to be quite significant. I do see a potential for relatively decent damage increase, especially without synergy teams. But, you know, all of that remains to be seen. Let me know what you guys think about this buff. As far as the choices go, it's quite sad that Mordo gets the buff and not Doctor Strange, if you ask me. It is quite sad. You know, how long we must wait for a Doctor Strange buff? Truly. Anyways, that's it. And I'm going to be uploading a Storm video next. So, see you soon.
Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about